Hi, I'm Cody Smith, Tech Support Manager for Cloyes Gear and Products. In this video, we will be servicing the timing components in a 4.7 liter V8 Chrysler PowerTech engine. This procedure will also closely apply to the 3.7 liter V6 engines as well. In addition to installation, we'll also discuss changes to the timing components that Chrysler made throughout the production of this engine family. Cloyes offers a full line of timing components and kits for all PowerTech engine family variations. Here's a look at the timing component kit 90393SF that we'll be installing in this video. The kit comes with chains, tensioners, guides, and sprockets for 2007 to 2013 4.7 liter applications. We also offer complete kits for the 3.7 liter V6 engines, both early and late, and kits for the older versions of the 4.7 liters. We will discuss the differences in these kits later. Please visit the buyer's guide on our website for application lookup. Let's get started. First, remove the valve covers, balancer, and the front cover to access the timing components. With the covers off, but before removing any components, rotate the engine to number 1 top dead center on the exhaust stroke. This is the position the engine needs to be in for timing chain installation. To do this, there are only 2 things you need to look at: the position of the crankshaft key and the timing marks on your camshaft sprockets. When the crankshaft key is at about the 2 o'clock position, number 1 is at top dead center. However, you need to make sure you're on the correct stroke. To verify the stroke, make sure the L timing mark on the left-hand cam sprocket is at around 2 o'clock and the R mark on the right-hand cam sprocket is at about 10 o'clock. If the cams are in these positions, you are ready for disassembly. If the cam marks are opposite these positions, just rotate the crankshaft 1 full revolution and check again. If the timing system has failed, take care in rotating individual shafts due to possible piston to valve contact. This is an interference engine. Let's start with the disassembly. Remove the access plugs from each head to access the chain guide bolts. Compress and pin the primary timing chain tensioner using a paper clip or similar pin. Remove both secondary tensioners. Be careful with the left-hand tensioner. There is a backing plate that can fall when the attachment bolts are removed. Remove the camshaft position sensor from the right-hand cylinder head. Next, using some vice grips or a similar tool and a protective barrier, clamp the right-hand camshaft in a non-critical area to hold the shaft. Then remove the camshaft sprocket bolt, followed by the camshaft sprocket, and gently allow the cam to come to rest. The camshaft will be under valve spring pressure. Repeat this process on the left-hand camshaft. Make note of the direction the cams rotate. You will need to rotate the camshafts back to the original positions during the installation process. Remove the idler assembly bolt. Then slide the idler and crankshaft sprocket forward together to remove the sprockets and chains. Remove all chain guides and the primary tensioner. This concludes the disassembly. Before we get started with the installation, here's some things you need to know. First, I would like to demonstrate how to deactivate an activated tensioner. This will be required if a tensioner is activated by accident before installation or if you plan to reuse a tensioner. Using the tensioner activation pin through the inspection port on the tensioner's ratcheting mechanism feature, compress the spring-loaded ratchet pulse cylinder, then compress the ratchet pulse stem. Once fully seated against the housing, insert the pin. The tensioner is now deactivated and ready for installation. As stated earlier, Chrysler made some changes to the timing components throughout the production run of this engine. Let's go over these changes. The first change was made to the target wheels on the right-hand camshaft sprockets in both 4.7 and 3.7 liter applications. A target wheel is what the camshaft sensor reads as the engine is running. Installation of the incorrect target wheel will cause significant engine timing issues or a possible no-start condition. Always ensure the newly purchased sprocket matches the original. The earlier 4.7 liters used a J-Tech target wheel, then changed to the NGC style wheel between 2002 and 2004 depending on the application. 3.7 liter V6 engines also made this change. 2003 and earlier models using the J-Tech wheel, and 2004 and later models using the NGC wheel. The next change was made on the 4.7 liter engines from 2007 to 2008. once again depending on the application. Chrysler went from using inverted tooth secondary chains to roller style secondary chains. With the change in design, it was also necessary to update the camshaft sprockets and the idler sprocket to accept the roller chains. A quick note on the idler assemblies. The Cloyes supplied kit will come with complete assembled idler assemblies. Here are the 4.7 liter V8 idler assemblies for the inverted tooth and roller style secondary chains. And this is the 3.7 liter V6 assembly with the balance shaft drive gear. Chrysler also updated the secondary tensioner guides during this time with built-in pivoting bushings. Now let's get back to the engine and start the installation. First, install the primary time and chain tensioner with the bottom two bolts and torque the bolts to 20 foot-pounds. Install the right-hand secondary tensioner guide and torque the bolt to 20 foot-pounds. Chrysler does recommend thread locking compound on the threads of the tensioner guide bolts. Next, install the left-hand chain guide. Torque the bolts to 20 foot-pounds. Now it is time to install the idler assembly with chains. To get the idler ready to install, start by wrapping the right bank chain on the most inward row of teeth with one of its marked links clearly showing in the center of the sprocket window at 4 o'clock. Then band the chain tight onto the sprocket with a zip tie at about the 10 o'clock position. Note, for earlier engines with inverted tooth secondary chains, place the double marked links where they are clearly visible through the sprocket windows. Next, repeat this process with the left bank chain on the middle row of teeth with the marked link clearly showing through the center of the window at 8 o'clock. Band the chain tightly at about the 2 o'clock position. Note that Chrysler does have a special tool to hold the chains in place similar to our zip tie method, but we found the zip ties to be just as effective. Now install the primary chain with the double marked link straddling the mark on the idler sprocket at 12 o'clock and the single marked link aligned to the mark on the crankshaft sprocket at about 6 o'clock. Before installing the assembly, lubricate the idler shaft and idler sprocket oil bearing with some engine oil. You can now install the whole assembly onto the engine and work the secondary chains up through the cam drive chests to rest on the camshafts. You can now install the left-hand tensioner guide with thread locking compound on the threads, then the right-hand chain guide. Tighten all bolts to 20 foot-pounds. To install the camshaft sprockets, the camshafts will need to be rotated. Using the same process used to remove the cam sprockets, clamp your tool onto the cam in a position to allow for proper rotation. Engage the right-hand cam sprocket onto the chain, aligning the R marked dot to the marked chain link. While holding the cam sprocket and chain, clip or cut the zip tie for that bank and rotate the camshaft to engage the camshaft dowel into the sprocket. Install the camshaft sprocket bolt, but do not torque at this time. Repeat this process on the left bank. Ensure all timing marks are still aligned properly. Install the secondary time and chain tensioners. Tighten bolts to 20 foot-pounds. Lubricate the idler retaining washer with engine oil, then install and tighten the sprocket bolt to 20 foot-pounds. Once the bolt is torqued, ensure that the idler has some in play. Activate all three tensioners. We can now torque the camshaft sprocket bolts. Chrysler did not make this easy, however. They recommend another special tool that engages the left-hand camshaft sprocket to provide backup while torquing both bolts. This is fine for the left-hand head, but requires loading the right-hand secondary tensioner when torquing the right-hand sprocket bolt. In lieu of the special tool, we use the same protective clamping method used earlier to hold the camshafts while torquing. Whatever method you use, try to avoid loading the tensioners, especially the primary blade tensioner. Torque the sprocket bolts to 90 foot-pounds. Reinstall the access plugs. Coat the threaded plugs with thread sealant before installation. The engine is now timed. You're ready to reinstall the covers and accessories. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please call our tech line and please subscribe to our channel.